The Bad Prawn. Like most other boys, John Palmer liked football, loud music, and films, and thought that Silvie Lindemann was the most beautiful woman on earth. On his 16th birthday, his parents got him tickets for his favorite program, It's Friday Night, and John was over the moon. When he discovered that Silvie Lindemann would be there, he nearly passed out. "Come on, then," his dad called up the stairs. "They won't let us in if we're late." Friday nights were always bad for traffic. This particular Friday was the worst John had ever seen it. They arrived at the studio with 2 minutes to spare. "Just in time," said the uniformed man on the door. He looked at John and winked. "First time on telly, is it?" John nodded. "It's my birthday treat," he said. The man laughed. "Good for you," he said. "Take those stairs and turn left, and you'll find yourself in the hospitality canteen. Help yourself to what you'd like." There were about 100 other people in the room, sipping drinks, chewing, and chatting. John looked at all the food. He wasn't hungry, but he did like prawns. He picked up a vol au vent and bit into it. A voice from the loudspeaker told them they had 3 minutes before the program started. As John followed his parents to the door, he burped. The taste of oily prawn filled his mouth. It was horrible. From his seat, John looked down at the stage. On television, the scenery looked grand, with marble pillars and arches which filled the whole screen. Close up, it was all made of painted board and stopped 3 meters up. The wild applause from the audience was not real either. Every time the warm-up man told a joke, a woman with black hair held up cue cards. "Clap," said one. "Laugh," said another. "Applaud and cheer," instructed yet another. John burped again. The taste in his mouth was revolting. One of the prawns must have been bad. The host of the show was Dean Winters. He walked down the hardboard stairs to the sound of wild applause, introduced himself to the audience, told them they were all wonderful, and promised an evening they would never forget. In 3 million homes around the country, people settled themselves down for another evening of It's Friday Night. After a brief talk, interrupted by laugh, laugh louder, and finally applaud and cheer, Dean Winters took his seat. He introduced his first guest, a small, thin woman who was there to speak about her travels in the Amazon. John didn't pay much attention. He started to feel sick and only noticed the woman had gone when the sound of loud music started hammering inside his head. He was hot, shivery, and his stomach hurt. As the music faded away, the warm-up man reappeared. "Terrific," he yelled. "You can all relax for a couple of minutes now. They're showing adverts." John turned to his mum. "I don't feel well," he said. Mrs. Palmer put her hand on his forehead. "You're burning up," she said. "Do you want to go?" John smiled weakly. "And Miss Silvie Lindemann?" he said. "Well, you let me know if you feel any worse," she said, her voice becoming a whisper as the warm-up man returned. 4, 3, 2, he counted. "And live!" "Welcome back," Dean grinned into the camera. "And now, my friends, the moment I've been waiting for." Laugh! "Miss Silvie Lindemann!" Wild applause. John watched Silvie appear at the top of the steps. His head spun, and he closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Silvie was on the settee, legs crossed and smiling round at the audience. She was older than John had thought. His stomach gurgled, and he burped again, as quietly as he could. Down at the front, Dean asked his questions, and Silvie replied. Her answers were short and often funny. Sometimes they would lead into a little story, as though she had just thought of it. John, who had read an interview with her in his film magazine, already knew every reply by heart. "And the film," Dean was saying. "Tell us about the film." "This film is the most exciting thing I've ever worked on," Silvie replied, as John knew she would. He wiped his forehead on his sleeve. He loosened his braces and undid the top button of his trousers. His stomach gurgled some more. The end of the interview was greeted with more wild applause. It was time for the final act of the show. "Ladies and gents," Dean Winters announced, "the great, the incredible, the one and only Pickpocket Pete." Applaud and cheer and wild applause. "You, madam," said Pickpocket, pointing to a woman in a blue dress. "Your name is Felicity, and you have a dog called Buster. Am I right?" The woman nodded, and the audience clapped. "And you, sir," he said, looking down at a tall man in the front row. "You were born on the 28th of January 1970. You live in Bondi and have a pilot's license. Am I right?" The man also nodded. The audience cheered. "And you, sir, with the green shirt, you have a baby granddaughter called Amy, who was born on 12th of April last year. Am I right? No, said the man quietly. It was my daughter. She died on that date. For a moment, there was an awful silence. The camera returned to Pickpocket Pete. Yeah, he cried. And a round of applause for our Joker of the Week. Clap, laugh, applaud, and cheer. Wild applause. The cue cards appeared one after the other. On the stage, Pickpocket Pete pulled a purse, a wallet, and a photograph from inside his jacket. Never trust a person who bumps into you in a crowded hospitality canteen, he said and winked at the camera. You never know what you might lose. Laugh. He threw the objects back to the three people in the audience. Now, he said, I need a volunteer. Here, here, here. John heard someone calling. He looked round. It was his dad, and he was pointing at him. His name's John Palmer, he was shouting. John Palmer! Pickpocket Pete raced up the aisle, pulled John from his seat, and led him back to the stage. John stared round at the rows of grinning faces. They all seemed to be getting bigger and smaller at the same time. His head was pounding. Sweat ran down his cheek. Hot, eh? Said Pickpocket Pete. Have a hanky? The audience clapped. It was John's own handkerchief, which they had seen Pete removing from John's pocket. And comb your hair while you're about it, said Pete, handing John his own comb. The audience's laughter echoed round his head. The whole studio was starting to spin again. John wanted to be sick. Pickpocket Pete held up something red. The audience was howling with laughter. My braces, John thought, and grabbed at his trousers. It was already too late. With the top button undone, they had slipped down to his ankles. There was no need for the cue cards. The audience loved it. John tripped and fell towards the chair and settee. He noticed the anxious smile on Silvie Lindemann's face. She looked even older this near. Her makeup was like a mask. John hit the floor with a thump. The audience cheered and whistled. Slowly, John pulled himself onto his knees. Silvie Lindemann was smiling down at him, so close now. John swallowed, but it was no good. His stomach was determined to get rid of that bad prawn. Silvie Lindemann screeched in horror as the young man with no trousers vomited over her legs. John looked up and wiped his eyes. He felt better already. The audience went crazy. Everyone thought the whole thing was planned. Even Silvie Lindemann was grinning into the camera as she wiped herself with a towel. I'm so sorry, said John. Silvie continued to smile, her beautiful smile. Get lost, you disgusting little jerk, she said, too softly for the microphone to hear. John stared at her. Like the marble pillars, and like the audience excitement, Silvie Lindemann was a fake. Sometimes it can take a whole lifetime for a person to discover that everything is not what it seems. With John Palmer, it had taken only one bad prawn. Nouns. Prawn, a small crustacean similar to a shrimp. Ticket, a piece of paper or electronic document giving a right to enter a place or participate in an event. Program, a plan of activities or events. Stairs, a set of steps leading from one floor to another. Studio, a room where an artist, photographer, or musician works. Telly, informal term for television. Treat, something enjoyable, often a special item given as a reward. Hospitality, the friendly and generous reception of guests or strangers. Canteen, a cafeteria or dining area, typically in an institution or workplace. Vol au vent, a small round puff pastry filled with a savory mixture. Taste, the sensation produced by a substance in the mouth. Stage, a raised platform for performances. Scenery, the natural features of a landscape or the painted backdrop of a theater. Pillars, vertical structures that support a building. Arches, curved structures that span an opening. Board, a flat, thin piece of material or a group of people managing an organization. Applause, the clapping of hands to show approval. Audience, a group of people gathered to watch a performance or event. Cue cards, cards displaying text for a speaker to read during a performance. Host, a person who receives or entertains guests. Attention, notice taken of someone or something. Stomach, the organ in which food is digested. Adverts, advertisements. Forehead, the part of the face above the eyebrows. Trousers, pants. Ladies, women. Gents, men. Sleeve, the part of a garment that covers the arm. Settee, a sofa. Interview, a conversation where questions are asked and answers are given. Pilot, a person who operates the controls of an aircraft. License, official permission to do something. Moment, a very brief period of time. Silence, the absence of sound. Purse, a small bag used to carry money and personal items. Aisle, a passage between rows of seats. Handkerchief, a small piece of cloth used for wiping the face or hands. Pocket, a small pouch sewn into a garment. Ankles, the joints connecting the feet with the legs. Towel, a piece of absorbent cloth used for drying. Excitement, a feeling of great enthusiasm. Fake, something that is not genuine. Marble, a type of hard rock that used for building. Verbs, discovered, found out something previously unknown. Nod, move the head up and down to indicate agreement. Wink, close and open one eye quickly. Laugh, make sounds and movements indicating amusement. Sip, drink in small mouthfuls. Chew, break down food with teeth. Chat, talk informally. Burp, release gas from the stomach through the mouth. Instruct, direct, or order someone to do something. Introduce, present someone to another person. Settle down, become calm or establish in a place. Interrupt, stop the continuous progress of an activity. Hurt, cause pain or injury. Fade away, gradually disappear. Yell, shout loudly. Whisper, speak very softly. Wipe, clean or dry by rubbing. Loosen, make less tight. Spin, turn around quickly. Gurgle, make a bubbling sound. Lead back, guide someone to return. Grin, smile broadly. Pound, hit heavily and repeatedly. Echo round, produce a sound that repeat around an area. Whistle, produce a high-pitched sound by forcing air through a small opening. Swallow, cause food or drink to move from the mouth to the stomach. Screech, make a loud, harsh sound. Vomit, expel stomach contents through the mouth. Jerk, move with a sudden, sharp motion. Clap, strict the palms together repeatedly. Applaud, show approval by clapping hands. Cheer, shout for joy or encouragement. Grin, smile broadly. Trip, stumble or lost balance. Grab, seize suddenly. Slip down, move smoothly to a lower position. Determine, decide firmly. Adjectives, loud, making a lot of noise. Favorite, most liked. Particular, specific or special. Spare, extra. Uniformed, wearing a uniform. Horrible, very unpleasant. Grand, impressive and large. Revolting, extremely disgusting. Brief, short in duration. Shivery, shaking slightly. Terrific, extremely good. Weakly, lacking strength. Incredible, hard to believe. Awful, very bad. Anxious, worried or nervous. Crazy, insane or very enthusiastic. Disgusting, extremely unpleasant. Fake, not genuine. Adverbs, weakly, in a weak manner. Phrasal verbs, pass out, lose consciousness. Come on, used to encourage or urge someone. Call up, telephone someone. Pick up, lift or gather. Bit into, cut or crush with the teeth. Hold up, raise or delay. Close up, move nearer or shut. Stop up, block or fill. Burn up, be consumed by fire or fever. Race up, move quickly upwards. Lead back, guide someone to return. Bump into, meet unexpectedly. Winky into, close and open one eye quickly while looking at. Pull up, bring to a halt. Settle down, become calm or establish. Swallow down, cause to pass through the throat to the stomach. Slip down, move smoothly to a lower position. Echo around, produce a sound that repeated around an area. Interjections, laugh, an exclamation indicating laughter. Clap, an exclamation indicating clapping. Applaud, an exclamation indicating applause. Cheer, an exclamation indicating cheering. Applauding, an exclamation indicating clapping in approval. Welcome, an exclamation used to greet someone.